This podcast is brought to you in part by some really cool people. I like to call them my Patreon podcast producers. Make sure you check them out on Instagram. Daryl at Your Level Fitness and Amy at Gym of the Gym. That's GEM of the GYM. Give them a follow. Show some love. They are helping to make all this possible. And stay tuned at the end of the show for more details on how you can join this awesome group and have your name read right here alongside them. Are you Team Apple? I got to shout out all of you checking out this show right now on an iPhone, iPad, etc. In fact, nearly 70% of you are listening to me on one of these devices. It would mean the world to me if you took a moment to leave a review. This is one of the best things that you can do for this podcast to help get the word out. And while you're at it, leave reviews for some of your other favorite shows. I bet they would really dig it. Oh, yeah! What is going on?
Not much. Just finishing up a quick dinner.
Oh yeah, what did you have for dinner tonight?
It was it's buffalo tofu and lima beans, corn on the cob, and asparagus.
All right, now smarten me up because I'm very much, I don't know how many of my podcasts you've heard, but I'm very much a simpleton when it comes to food and all that stuff. What is this tofu business here? What is that all about?
So there's different kinds of tofu. Obviously there's it doesn't always get the best rap.
Right.
But it is, the one that we get is an extra firm, already pressed out tofu because it's usually staying fresh in a liquid, I think. And we currently we got an air fryer, or recently we got an air fryer, and that's how we've been cooking it. And then you can kind of sauce it up with barbecue sauce, or I really love buffalo sauce because
Right.
I'm vegetarian, so I kind of miss that,
Oh,
buffalo
wow.
chicken. Yeah, so.
Vegetarian. That is one road I have not walked down yet. Now I've talked to people on the podcast who are vegetarian or vegan, and to my knowledge, there's a difference of some sort. But I have not walked down that road. I don't know if I'll ever walk down that road. So more power to you. I will say that. So before this, you were not a vegetarian, or?
Yes, correct. So, what had happened was I stayed home one day and decided it was going to be a Netflix documentary day. And
Right.
I watched like 3 different Netflix documentaries in a row. And I was like, you know what? I think I actually started off vegan. I was like, I think I'm going to go vegan. And my roommates came home with grocery bags full of hot dogs and
Oh, man.
hamburger meat. And so what I chose to do was a transition into it. So it wasn't just cold turkey. It was like, okay, well, I'm also really frugal. So
Yeah.
I don't want to waste, I don't want to waste that money. So I did a slow transition into vegan. And vegan is when you are choosing not to eat anything that comes from an animal.
Okay.
So that's, your milk, your ice cream, your butter, your eggs, your honey, anything like that. And
Wow.
vegetarian is just you're not eating anything that is a meat of an animal. So no fish, no beef, pork, chicken. So yeah.
So vegetarian is like, I mean, let's just dumb it down for me here. So vegetarian's like level 1, like that's kind of like entry level. Then vegan is like super mega, the next level up. Like we're just shutting it all down pretty much.
Kind of, yeah. But
Okay.
there's definitely an opportunity for unhealthy vegan because and a lot of people say Oreos are vegan,
Right. It's okay. So circle back to that. So when you say like unhealthy vegan, what's an example of somebody who might be an unhealthy vegan?
So if you are just focusing on, the foods high in sodium, high in calories, high in sugars, whatever it may be, and it's food that technically isn't made from an animal product, then you're
Right.
in the clear. It's still technically vegan. Um, so, for example, when I went vegan, I started off eating a lot of pasta,
Ah,
a lot of
yes.
bread, a lot of carbs. So I didn't actually lose a lot of weight when I went vegan. I did lose some, but not a huge amount that sometimes um, people will be excited to share, that they lost a lot of weight. I went vegan. I lost so much weight.
Right.
I think the key to that is saying plant based, right? So you're focused more on the natural plants that you can find in nature versus processed foods. So
Right. Yeah. We had a girl on here by the name of Leah, a fantastic girl. She told a story about her plant based dieting, and like I said, more power, to y'all. If
yeah.
you can do it, I mean, hey, I'm kind of in a weird spot right now where, um, I spent like the first 2 years of my journey just trying to better the relationship with food. So what do I mean by that? It's like not necessarily saying I'm going to be this or that, or I'm cutting out all of this group or all of that group. It was more or less uh, portion control, which was huge in the very first year. And as I transitioned into the second year, it was all right. Now, what are the things that I could get by living without? I always feel like when you very first start, like, right at the start, going onto some like super duper strict thing is probably not the way to go. I think that at times it can be a setup for failure if you go too hard, too quick. And that goes with working out as well. But we're talking about food, so we'll stick there for the moment. But it's like, you go so hard and say, I am 100%, I'm not having this, I'm not having that. And then
Mm-hmm.
you mess with your mind. And I know you and I, when we were kind of, setting all this up, we were talking about, the mental game and all that. We're going to go all around here. But I think that's key, starting out is not going so hard. And then as you start to build a better relationship, then you can start, trying these different things. That's what's worked for me. That's all I can speak for is what I've tried, what's worked so far. But how is it for you? Did you go like hard? I mean, I know you said there's like a transition, but like when you were first getting started on any of the times where you were starting, I know you mentioned to me, there's a couple different times, just like me, trying to get started losing weight. Were there times where you just went straight in, I'm not having all this, I'm not having all that, or did you kind of slowly transition into things?
So, with going vegan and then eventually vegetarian, for me, it wasn't about health at that time.
Right.
For me, it was about the the animals because
Sure.
I'm very much an animal environmental kind of person. So that was where my focus was. In
Sure.
the past, I definitely have done that. I've done I'm going to try no carbs, very little carbs. I'm going to only eat all of these, healthy foods. I'm going to do this, and not eat all of these things.
Yeah.
But then what would happen is I would have a stumble, like we all do.
Sure.
And from that stumble, I would begin that mental cycle that happens with a lot of people who are my size and have been my size for a long time. And it's that concept or that idea of I'm failing
Yep.
just like I knew I would. I'm failing just like everyone thought I would.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
disappointing people. I'm doing all of these things and I'm going to end up this way for the rest of my life. And it just continues to spiral down and down and down until you find yourself, quietly crying with a cake in front of you because that's my thing. If I'm upset, and I eventually recognized it, I would go, there's this one cake from Publix because I live in Florida. There's this one cake from
Oh,
Publix.
Publix. Yeah.
Yep, yeah, and it is my go-to.
What kind of cake is it, for the record?
It is a Heath bar cake, and
Oh, okay.
it's really good. But I know that I noticed that when I would get in an emotional spiral like that, that was my go-to.
Oh
And
yeah.
then it's one of those things where I was conscious of my actions, but I would still do it just to fulfill this pre-planned destiny I thought there was.
Yeah, that's such
And
and I'm sorry, that's such a unique spot, right? Because like as you're eating the cake, like, like,
Mm-hmm.
I know I shouldn't be doing this, right? And
Yes,
you
absolutely.
kind of feel, you kind of feel bad about it, but at the same time, it's like we have these habits, and this is why I love what Daryl. I know you follow him, Your Level Fitness. What he's always talking about, the habit based, bettering your habits, because like we know that some of these things are wrong, but there are times where we make the choice. And I think it still happens to some of us even now. I mean, I think we're lying if we say it doesn't, but
Hmm.
you have these stumbles, and it's like, we know what it's going to do. We know how it's going to make us feel. And because in nature, we're kind of bigger people, like when you have like one bad day, and this is the thing where it messes with your mind and the mindset and all that, like, and why I think people have this immediate knee jerk reaction of my whole thing is blown, because right, you're like a bigger person, and so let's just say you had a bad day, you're at Publix, you got that Heath bar cake, and you just destroy it, and you feel
Hmm.
so bloated, and just like your belly's just pushing out, your shirt fits a little tight, and you feel like you suddenly gained 30 pounds in a day, and then mentally it just destroys you for at least a week. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
100 times over that's happened in the course of my life. And there are even times during this journey where it's like, you'd have like one bad weekend. I had like a death in the family a year ago, and it's like you go and you start eating like crazy, and you're like, oh my God. I mean, everything's just, you feel like that's what you think, but eventually you get the positive thinking. You're like, all right, next day we're just back on our stuff and we're just going to keep on rolling. But mentally, you have that thing where you just feel like a bloated, disgusting mess, and you feel like it's all blown.
Right, absolutely. And it's something that I started to notice was my I don't know, my instant replay, I guess, my broken record.
Yeah.
It was something that I noticed I've done for most of my life, during those times when I was like, I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to go on a diet. I'm going to, look like all these other people and fit this mold.
Right.
And nothing changed. This time last year, I was paying a personal trainer at a gym. I think it was like 160 a month or something like that. Trying to lose weight, trying to get fit, and I did lose weight. Learning different exercises, but I didn't go at it the right way. And
Right.
the problem was not the personal trainer. And I hope to one day be able to have that luxury again, because it was really nice to get different ideas on workouts. And he was super awesome and positive and a great guy. But my problem is that I wasn't seeking mental help. And
Yeah.
that was the root of the problem. So this past, I think it was October, I stepped on a Wii Fit because we have a Wii Fit board here,
Mm-hmm.
and it said I was too heavy to weigh. And I had never encountered that before. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? This is not, no, this isn't right. Something's wrong with the Wii Fit. So I tried again and again, and it kept coming up. And then I looked it up, and it said once you reach over a certain weight point, it can't weigh you anymore. And
Right.
I was like, I had this internal conversation of, you have to stop. You're killing yourself. Like, you have to stop.
Yeah.
So at that point I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's make a change. Let's really focus on what we need to focus. And I started looking around, and I found a therapist, and that has been my absolute life-saving step. It's made a huge difference in the whole process. And also, I feel like discovering you and discovering Gary and discovering other people that have a healthy frame of mind
Right.
on how to approach it has been a game changer as well. Finding that support group that's out there.
1,000%. I always talk about it. Finding your squad. If you got dead
Hmm.
weight, you got people dragging you down. You got to cut them loose. Just like you're burning off that fat, you got to burn off this dead weight that's dragging you down, because it all comes back to the mental game. And that's what I talk about so much. And that when you were telling me your story a couple of days ago, and I'm like, oh yeah, we got to get you on, because this is super important, because I don't think a lot of people realize how big of a mental impact. I think there are people in denial, right? They don't know necessarily that something is wrong always, other than, oh, I'm overweight, I'm fat. And, Betty Lou on Instagram, she lost 30 pounds last week. Holy crap. And they're just, there's the comparison that we fall in. And that's, I talk about so many pros of the weight loss community. If there's any cons for people out there, it's just the comparison game will drag you down, and all of our bodies are not created equal. It's, we're all on different plans. We're all on different paths. Our bodies have different circumstances, and, it comes back mentally because you're looking at somebody else and what they're doing, and you're like, holy crap, they're killing it. Why can't I? And
absolutely.
that'll slow you down so quick. But again, you surround yourself with positive people, and that's all I do on Instagram. And in my personal life, I surround myself with the right people. If you got too much negativity, you got to go. And that's, that may sound tough. It may sound harsh, but it's a reality, because you will become the people that you surround yourself with. Ultimately, if you let that happen, as far as the negative way, but also to the positive way. If you're around enough positive people, you're going to stay positive no matter what.
Absolutely. And being around negative people, and if you're a positive person and they're just continually negative and they're not helping, I don't know if this is the right word, but kind of raise you up in a little, by that support or by that, encouragement or love, they're draining you of it. Absolutely. And
Definitely.
It's exhausting. It is a million times exhausting. And it takes away that sunshine that you bring into the world. And that's important. We need a lot of that.
Yeah, no, you're
a lot of sunshine.
You're trying to be Superman, and there's Lex Luthor over there just sucking the life out of you.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
And that can be a problem. We need to fix that.
Absolutely. And one of my biggest, I think, kind of hangups was the stigma behind going to see a therapist.
Right.
The stigma behind admitting and saying, I need to see someone who can help me with this. And honestly, it kind of baffles me that there's still this stigma, because we all have our own hurdles in our lives, and some have bigger hurdles than others.
Yeah.
But here we have people who've gone to school, who have done so much education and are professionals at helping us with these hurdles. And it's been an incredible journey so far, and I'm eternally grateful. And she's showed me so many different ways to rethink how I see things, realize that this image of me failing and being miserable the rest of my life and being, unhealthy the rest of my life is not predestined. It's not pre-planned. It's all this movie trailer that I've created, and we have to change that trailer.
Oh,
we
definitely.
have to change that. So it's been awesome. And one of the things that I kind of encourage to other people is that I don't have a lot of extra income. I'm an independent contractor. I actually work online.
Right.
But I I shared that with her, and I was like, I'm just, calling around to get an idea of pricing. And she actually gave me a bit of a discount for it, because she knew that my income was a little less than others, and she made it work. So if anyone's thinking about it, wanting to talk to somebody and think that they can't afford it, maybe just take the time and call around and see, maybe there is someone that you can afford that might be helpful, or even group therapy as well. So
yeah, that's interesting. I think you're probably one of the first that's actually openly, and I appreciate, you being open and honest about it. I think there are some people that maybe if they're doing it, they just don't want to say it, but I think you're like the first one that's come on this podcast in 86 episodes and has talked about actually going to a therapist. It's something that I've thought about. I think my hang up with it has always been, I go back to when I was a child and I was in special education, and all I was talking to was damn therapists. And it probably drove me up the wall, because I was young. I thought I knew everything, and I was very rebellious, in nature. And that's one of the things I love about a podcast. And I'll plug Daryl again, because he's a really a a person that's championing others to start podcasts, much like you start an Instagram or a YouTube documenting your journey. I will echo his sentiments. Starting a podcast can be very therapeutic, as long as you're honest with yourself and you're honest with the people that are listening. And people that have been around long enough know that I open up. I have people that have told me, I think you're opening up too much. And for me, it's just an amazing thing to do, is to open up and just talk about things, and whether it be part of the weight loss journey, which is what so much of this podcast has been built upon, but other stuff, like there was the episode about my father, episode 31, where I talk about our troubled relationship. Opening up on things can be so therapeutic, especially through a podcast where you don't have to look anybody in the eye. You could just hold up a microphone and you can start talking and you can record it. And it just so happens that other people get to listen in, and it's kind of a freeing experience, really.
Right. Yeah. I've kind of thought about it. I've been kind of like, I don't know. It seems, I'm intrigued. I'll put it that way. I'm intrigued. It seems like a great way to share your story. And I really enjoy your podcast. And
thank you.
Because you do reach out to other people in the community and you allow their voices to be heard. And that's powerful in and of itself. That's a really great thing to do.
Well, and I'm trying to do more of that, actually,
Yeah. It's a great way because everyone has a different story, but there's little parts of each story that a lot of us can connect to and relate to. Yeah. And that's powerful. And there's always some little kind of words of wisdom that's in each of the episodes. And you go, oh, I didn't even think about that, or that perspective, or that's, a great idea, or something along those lines. And it's a really great opportunity for everyone to tell their story. And I really appreciate it. It's awesome.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's funny too, because a lot of the times when I'm talking with people, most of the time is people I've never talked to, like we've never talked to each other as far as like on the phone before today. One of the greatest things about this is we jump on, it's like we've known each other for years, right? We're 20 minutes in and we're having a blast. The other cool thing about it is, like, when you mention, like, there's like these little words of wisdom tucked in there. I don't even know that that's happening. That's a real honest moment, because like I'll have somebody like Daryl on or whoever, and I'll be making a point, or they'll be making a point, and then suddenly it just clicks. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Let me say this. And like, when I say that, it's like, okay, now that makes sense. And I know that if it makes sense to me, it's got to make sense to some other people. And there are times where, I'll reach some kind of like crazy epiphany and it'll like blow my mind. Like, wow, I'm just now thinking about it in this way. And it took talking it out with a complete stranger to get to that point. It's pretty wild.
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing. I think and I get that with some of your posts and some of Gary posts as well. I think I was listening to one of his podcasts, and he was talking about the relationship that we have with food,
right?
And how that needs to change. And I was like, yeah. And then there was this little like light bulb in my head with the whole concept, and it might have been something he said or somebody else said about cheat meals. And why do we call them cheat meals? Why are we putting this negativity to food,
right?
To where if we eat it, there's this little tinge of guilt, right?
Right.
Why do we not just say, oh, this is going to be a higher calorie meal, and I'm going to adjust for that? I had a meeting today with some work people, and we ate at Tijuana Flats, and because of the vegetarian thing, it's a little more challenging for me. So I usually just get a black bean quesadilla.
Right.
Well, I know that has a bit of a higher calorie count. So I'm going to adjust to make sure that for dinner, I'm getting veggies and, that kind of thing. And I've been trying to rethink how I'm viewing food, because if I'm feeling guilty about food, then I think I'm looking at it in the wrong light. And I would definitely love to know your opinion, and maybe others as well. Like, do you feel that way as well, or what do you think?
Well, I should jump in first. I think you're referring to Daryl as Gary, and he might be offended that you're giving him my awful name. He might be very offended.
Gosh,
he is Daryl Big Time Perry. I always been busting his balls on that. He's Daryl Big Time Perry. He might be offended. Like, don't call me Gary.
No, I doubt he's offended. He's probably honored. No, yes, you're absolutely right.
Yes, be honored to have my name, Daryl. You hear that? Christie's going to tell you, you need to be honored.
Oh, man, you're absolutely right. So,
Oh
yes.
boy. No, I think for so long I've called them cheat meals just out of habit, like for lack of a better term. And I work it in because, like, you know, during the week I stay as good, quote, I'm using air quotes, as good as I possibly can, you know, with the portion control, laying off some of the higher fat stuff, you know, things of that nature, so that when I arrive at the weekend, I've got enough stashed up. I almost think about it like saving money. Now, I'm terrible at saving money, but I am getting better with the food and budgeting and all that stuff. So for me, it's like, you know, if I can keep it in good all week, and then I arrive at the weekend, I start to loosen it a little bit. Not crazy. We're not going out and having 3 large pizzas, you know, at once, but you know what I mean? Like, all right, well, you know, I might get the slightly bigger burger than I normally would. Maybe I'll keep the regular fry, but you know, just a slightly bigger portion perhaps, or you know, something that I wouldn't normally eat during the week. And for me, I'm good with that, because it all comes back to making choices, understanding what these choices are. They're going to have good consequences, bad consequences. Either way, they're going to result in something. So just knowing that, you know, whatever you're doing, that you have to adjust for that. And so that's my way of getting around it. Everybody's going to have a different way, but my way is during the week to kind of budget or save. I'm using these very simple terms because it's easier for me to understand, and just budgeting throughout the week so that, you know, when that weekend comes around, I can fit in this one meal and I won't feel terrible about it, because again, it comes back to a choice, and we all have the choice. Now, whether you want to call it cheat meal or whatever, high calorie meal or whatever, I think that's all, you know, neither here nor there. It's up to you to call it whatever you want. It just comes back more or less to the decision and understanding what that decision is going to bring based on the circumstances you put yourself in throughout the week.
Right, absolutely. And I completely agree with the planning part of it. I think that's a huge part of that. For example, I went out this past weekend with some friends for brunch, and I went ahead and I looked at the menu beforehand.
Right.
And I saw on the menu they had a a Hawaiian French toast, which consisted of Hawaiian rolls, dipped in egg, French toasted up. I don't know how you want to word that.
Which sounds good, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds amazing.
Maple syrup and macadamia and granola, and
good Lord,
these beautiful. Yeah, and I was like, I want that. That is what I want. But then I took a moment and I said, if I eat that, that might set me into a bad spiral.
Sure.
That, because of how sweet it is and how, like, I love sweets, man. It's good stuff.
It's like a trigger. I mean, and you're right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's all based on your own personal, you know, where you're at with things. So if you know, hey, if I have one bite of this damn thing, it's going to be over for the weekend. All right.
Absolutely.
You know, then you know to back off or what have you. It's all based on you. And this is why it comes back to, like, you're scrolling through Instagram, and we've got so many influencers in our ears or in our faces with their posts. They're trying to tell us this way or that way. Some of them with good intentions, a lot of them with bad intentions. And you ultimately have to do the research, put out your BS detector, and sniff out what's right and you know what's right for you and what doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's all about making the best possible educated decision based on what is good for you. That's
Right.
why I'm so far against, you know, having somebody, you know, the kind of trainers that, like, they make you do it one way, and if you're not doing it exactly that way, you're doing it wrong, which again goes back to a mental mindset, which brings you down, makes you feel like you're failing. When you feel like you're failing, you want to stop, and when you want to stop, you ultimately end up stopping, and then it's game over at that point. And then you're right back to the restarts. I can tell you, for me, Christy, I've restarted 7 or 8 times. I always say 7 or 8 because I don't remember, was it 7 or 8? So it's one of the two. How many times for you? Because I know you mentioned to me that you did have some restarts in there. How many times would you say you start and stopped?
It's one of those things where I feel like it's been so integrated into my life. I
Right.
couldn't give you even a rough guestimate, right?
Fair enough.
I know that when I was about 10 years old, I got my first workout video. That was a Barbie video. So already that kind of culture and mindset was being um, impressed on me, right?
Right.
Um, and then when I was in high school, I saw there was this GNC weight loss pill 6-week program set, and
Oh
I
yeah.
just knew I had to have it. I remember, yeah, I was like, this is what's gonna do it, man. This will be it. This will be the day. And I was in high school, um, and there was other things along the way. I would, get an outfit that was too small so that I could work out hard enough and be inspired to fit into it, which of course I never did.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, just all kinds of different and really for me unhealthy tactics to try to lose weight. And and in my brain, whenever anyone would agree with it and go, "Oh, that's a good idea," or "Oh, yeah, we should totally get these," this organic herbal pill supplement to lose weight. I didn't see it as they're supporting me. I saw it as they agreed that I was not good enough.
Right.
And so at that point, that already began for that slow spiral as well. Because I wanted to prove that, they were wrong. But then I was also angsty teen and was like, I'll show you. And I'm going to go eat a box of donuts. So it was on again, off again for pretty much most of my life, starting from 10 years old, I would say,
You always
which is insane to think about.
right, right. Did you ever get the people that were always trying to tell you this is how you got to do it? If you
Hmm.
try this, that's the thing. That's probably the one drawback to like sharing so much. Like, here's how I'm doing this, and here's how I'm doing that, because you always got somebody that's like, oh, well, actually, nah, you got to do this, and if you do this, and you'll get that. I've had that people in my ear for years, and that's when I say ignore the noise. And I made a beautiful T-shirt about that. I try not to do any plugs, but hardworkalwayswins.com. I'm going to throw that out there just one time for your mind. But ignore the noise. When I say that, what I mean by that is ignoring all the people around you that are creating that noise, that are trying to get in your ear, trying to tell you how to live your life, how to do your workout, how to do whatever, and focus on what you believe in your heart to be true and what you feel you should do. I had people that were like, oh, you got to try these Stacker 2. Yeah, that's how old I am. Stacker 2. I think there was a Stacker 3 at some point as well. Try these Slim Fast shakes. Replace 2 or 3 meals with these. I even had one guy tell me, "Hey, you should drink this Ensure." I'm drinking this Ensure, and I lost 20 pounds in like 2 weeks or whatever. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's try it. There's so many different things that people will always want to tell you. You should try this. You should try that, and you just got to ignore the noise and get that out of your head, because I think here's the thing. A lot of people, they mean well, but they're just trying to, tell you something that they probably just read on some fake news, Facebook or whatever, like these like crazy articles, like 10 crazy things you can try to lose 30 pounds in one
Right.
day,
Yeah.
like, and
Yes.
you gotta like put up the BS detector sometimes for that stuff. So I don't know how much of that you dealt with, but God, I felt like I dealt with it a lot.
Well, I'll tell you, the other day I was at the gym and I needed to read a book. I actually am doing a little bit of an internship as well.
Right.
Um, and I was reading one of the books for the internship and I was on the bike, the stationary bike where you sit
Yeah.
rather than, yeah. So I was doing that and it's not my like ideal exercise equipment, but I was like, I'm multitasking and I'm grateful that I can do this. So we're just gonna, not feel guilty about working out. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
So I'm reading and I'm working out, and this guy comes to tap me on the shoulder while I'm working out and reading.
Are you
And he
serious?
comes, yes, and he tells me that, oh, that's funny. He tells me,
Wow.
that what you're doing, I just so much praise for what you're doing, but you're just really pedaling really hard and you're hardly sweating at all. And I started this one program and the fat just melted off me. And I was just so taken aback that that was happening
Oh
and
my
that,
God.
I was like, I am a grown adult and this is currently while at my gym, it is happening. Someone thought it was okay to approach me in the middle of what I consider as me time. I'm
Yeah.
in taking care of myself. I'm enjoying, when I'm doing my workouts, I'm enjoying the workouts, and because I usually go for stuff I enjoy.
Yeah, of course.
um,
Yeah.
so I was just totally taken aback by it. So yes, I've definitely encountered that before.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, ladies and gentlemen, when you're at the gym and you see someone actively working out, do not approach them. Put your hand on them to get their attention and try to, interrupt them
Hmm.
while they're mid workout. That is just like a no go. Like, I even feel weird about like approaching anybody in the gym, just like when you walk up to like where you get like the paper towel to wipe down the machine. Like,
Right. Yes.
and I've never really felt like in a position to like want to talk to anybody. I'm
Hmm.
partially antisocial. I know this can sound really weird to people that have been listening to me for a while, but when it comes to like face to face, sometimes that's an issue. But I never really like when I'm at the gym, I never really felt like I should go and approach somebody and just start talking to them because
Hmm.
like who the hell am I to approach this person? And I mean, unless I seen them like absolutely just crushing it and I just wanted to walk up like, man, you were crushing it over there. Like, I think that's probably the only time where that's okay. But even then it still feels kind of weird. I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't just approach anybody, I guess.
Right. Absolutely. And I was like, and the thing that I think bothered me the most is that I've been going to a gym for a while, since October, I think, or November, and I'm comfortable with it now. But when I first, and it was last year, the first time I ever signed up for a gym and actually went, okay,
Right.
I've signed up in the past and just never went. But I actually went. That took a lot of courage for me to do because
Absolutely.
I was so worried of being judged by others. I was so worried that others were going to look at me and judge me. And so to actually get up that courage to go, it took a lot. Now I don't care. It's whatever. I'm here to sweat. I have on my big headphones. Like,
Yeah.
I don't actually care if people are staring or not staring. I've got a focus. I'm focused. But I kept thinking, what if he approached somebody who was like me at the beginning, and it took that courage, and now he's approaching them, telling them that what they're doing isn't good enough, and he's, taking down that confidence that they might have had for showing up that day. And I ended up reporting him because I was so angry about it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
it's yes, it's not okay. Don't do
It's
that.
never, ever okay. And what you mentioned there, I want to circle back to that because that's key. I get people that have written me all the time that say, how do I get started? Because quite frankly, I'm just not comfortable going to the gym. And that's a huge thing for so many people. Like they're just not comfortable going to
Hmm.
the gym, being around other people. And I get that anxiety because, and I'm a guy and I know this is a thing I've had, women that have approached me and said, wow, you're coming from the guy's perspective. I would think that you'd be able to walk in there and be so confident. Well, now I am. But when I first got started, like, no way.
Hmm.
It was tough, like, and probably part of that is the gyms I was going into, like, what was the first one I walked into? A Gold's Gym of all place. Whew. A lot
Yeah.
of meatheads over there, and walking in, and here I am, the big guy, not big and muscular, but big belly. And I'm walking in there and you got people that are looking and it's like, here's all these guys that, they're pumped up with the muscles. They got the six packs and all that other stuff. And they're looking at over me in like a judgmental type way. And I'm just absolutely not comfortable with it. I get anxiety enough as it is. At that time, anxiety is on an all-time high. So I can certainly identify with what you're talking about. It's extremely tough just to get comfortable to go to the gym. And then once you get comfortable, then you're fine. But I just think
Right.
that, if you're somebody that's going to the gym and you've seen success and you've lost weight and you look great and you're toning up muscles or whatever, don't look at people like I get so mad when I hear people talk about January as like the tourist season at the gym. Here comes all the tourists. They're in January, out by February, and they look down on them and like they're just taking up all the space and they're an inconvenience. And I'm like, these people, whether they're going to be here at the end of the month or not is irrelevant. Something woke them up and they said, I want to start. And so they're there and they're trying to make a start, and probably your crappy attitude, not you, Christy, but the virtual person we're talking about here, their crappy attitude is probably one of the things that drove these people out of the gym. In addition to whatever anxiety or, not believing in themselves or whatever other mental issues they're going through. So you
Right.
gotta be cool to people. And I'm not saying walk up to every single person and high five and all that stuff. That's probably not appropriate, but just be nice, smile, whatever it
Right.
is, just be supportive. Don't be a dick,
Right.
just don't do it.
Absolutely. And if you are taking the time to judge somebody for showing up on January 1st, what is that saying about, you as a person? Not
Yeah.
again, not you, but this person. Like, why are you taking time out of your day to push that negative I, to sound full, like, to give you my full granola? Like, why are you pushing that negative energy out there? Why
Yeah.
is that necessary?
It's
It's
not.
not helping anything. It's definitely not helping you lose weight. It's not helping them feel comfortable and feel like this is a place they can go. It's mind-boggling. And I've been working on that too, like recognizing if I'm being judgy, and if I am, then I need to reel that back and kind of take a minute and process, why am I being judgy? Or if someone's being judgy with me, or I've grown up hearing every kind of phrase or name, or people calling me fat or
Right.
whatever it might be, and it's come to the point where I thankfully am old enough to realize that while the words are awful and unnecessary and rude, there's probably something more to that, and it has nothing to do with me.
No,
Nothing to
it's
do
just
with me.
people that are mentally broken for whatever reason. I look at, if I'm in the gym and I see somebody just on the treadmill, because I always identify with that. That's where I got my start. And I see somebody that's, very large, bigger than me. And I'm just thinking to myself, you go, man, or you go, girl, whatever it is, just go out there and rock it. Whatever, if you're just walking, just walk, just move. I don't look at them and say, oh God, who's that fat ass trying to get on the treadmill? It's just not, it's not the right thing to do. It's just, I don't understand how anybody, especially if you were at one point overweight, how can you look and be judgmental? That I don't understand. That blows my mind.
Absolutely. And everyone has their story. Everyone has their past that has got them to where they are today, no matter how they might look. And if no one's taking the time to try to understand that, then you don't understand anything about the person that you're judging. It makes no sense. No
Yeah.
sense at all. So, and it's the same with the guy who approached me at the gym. He had no idea of my story or who I am or what path I'm on. And he felt that I was doing it wrong and needed some guidance. And
Yeah.
in fact, I did not, especially his.
I hear you. It's just crazy. You can't be mean to people. You gotta be good to people. I don't give a damn if they're bad to you or not. You gotta be good to people. You gotta give them your best, honest approach. And if they don't want to be cool, then they can't be helped. But at least you're putting your best foot forward always.
Right.
And that's something that in me has changed a lot over the years, because I used to be that negative. I used to be, as I like to jokingly call, petty Roosevelt, just always, a dick back, whatever, tit for tat, or whatever analogy you want to use for it. But we just ain't got time for that no more. We're on this planet, we're lucky enough to have been born. Gary V has this incredible stat, and I don't want to butcher it, but it's just like, it's like out of all the chances or whatever, you ended up being born. So like, you gotta use this opportunity. You gotta make the most of it. We ain't got time to be bitching about other people. We got time to make the most of our lives.
Right. How are you going to reach your full potential if you're focused on anyone else but yourself?
Exactly. 100%. I agree. I couldn't agree anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
it's it's been I'm telling you what, ever since I started therapy, ever since I started finding a community of people who are promoting a healthier idea,
right.
that's not the diet culture, that's kind of showing how it's more focused on the habits you build, the positive attitude, the not being obsessed with the scale and the number on the scale,
Oh,
but
yes.
but finding the victories throughout the day, saying, I'm going to celebrate the fact that I didn't eat the delicious looking French toast. I'm going to celebrate the fact that I had an omelet that is going to do a better job of taking care of my body. Or I went to the gym and I walked on a treadmill for 20 minutes. I'm going to celebrate that because I moved my body for 20 minutes, and that deserves a celebration.
That's right. You gotta celebrate your victories. And when you take an L for the day, as they say, you just gotta be reflective and understand. You gotta slow down, reflect, adjust, and keep pushing. That's what I like to say when it comes to that. You see trouble
Absolutely.
ahead, slow down, reflect, adjust, keep pushing. It's so key. Now, when you might have mentioned this earlier, but I just want to clarify. So, on this current part of your journey, did the therapy and all that, is that a part of this journey, or was that beforehand, or is this all part of this one journey?
So the therapy started with this one.
Okay, gotcha. Yep.
I've tried losing weight on my own in the past, without attacking that aspect of it, without attacking the mental health as well,
Yeah.
or addressing the mental health as well. And it just ended in failure. And I knew, like, I used to watch, oh, what is the name of the show? Biggest Loser, right? I used
Right.
to watch it. And I remembered thinking, if they're not addressing the core of the problem that got where we are today, then they're not doing everything they can for these contestants. They have to be able to get to the mental health as well. And I never really felt like they were doing that. And it always bugged me
Yeah.
because in my head, I knew that was an important part of it, but I myself was never actually taking those steps. So I finally was like, this has to be it. And I'm telling you what, I don't know if I had a little stumble at the beginning of January, and I
Right.
remember thinking, "Oh, here we go again. Here it comes." But then I was like, "No, we're going to talk about this at therapy." And it was this whole other perspective because in my head, I'm stumbling and I'm done. It's game over. Here we are again.
Yep.
But my therapist was like, no, you have to think of it more like a scaffolding. And you're climbing a scaffolding and maybe you might fall off of it. Well, now is an opportunity to figure out where is there a hinge that needs to be fixed? Where is there a joint in the scaffolding that needs to be repaired? We figure out how to repair it, and then we go back up the scaffolding. And I was just like, what a great way to think of it. It's not a matter of I'm forever stuck face down in the dirt. It's a
Yeah.
matter of I have an opportunity to learn from this stumble, to fix it so that next time I approach it, it's I know how to handle it. I know how to deal with it in a logical and healthy way. And it's been an absolute game changer. I'm telling you, an absolute game changer.
You're blowing my mind with that whole analysis of that, thinking about the scaffold. Like, you fall
Mhm.
down and it's not because there's something wrong with you, like there's something wrong with the scaffolding, for lack of a better term. So you got to adjust it, and then you try
Mhm.
again. So you stumble, you fall, you adjust, and you keep going, and eventually you just keep on going and keep on going. And that's,
Absolutely.
I mean, that is huge.
Yes, absolutely. And what a great way to visualize it. What a great way to go, okay, you're exactly right. It's not me. It's this kind of diet culture, or maybe even just a culture that we live in that has me where I am. So how can I rethink this?
Yeah.
The culture we live in now is just now getting to the point where there's less of a stigma with mental health. Convincing people from my mother's generation is challenging.
Oh
Convincing
my
people from
God.
my
Yeah.
grandmother's generation is next to impossible. So our generation, we have to be the ones that say, no, we have to change this dialogue. We have to change this mindset. And we have to teach our children and the next generations that this is an important part of care. Going to the doctor, going to the dentist, and going to a therapist. This is important. and we have to make it a priority.
Yeah, if the mental health isn't talked about enough, I'm going to make sure that I continually bring it up week after week after week, because if you don't have it together up there in your head, which by the way, up there in your head is what drives everything about your body. Like if you don't have that relationship good to go, or at least on the right track, you're screwed. I mean, you really are. And I know that sounds crazy to think, but and just like you said, the mother's generation, grandmother's generation, they don't believe in all that. Mm-hmm. They just say, you're full of crap. You got to just work your butt off and just keep going, blah, 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 blah. There is a big mental part of this. It should not be understated even for a second.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. I get frustrated at times, people, they look at you, maybe they're from the older generation, and they think like, oh, you're just crazy. You're just losing your mind, or you're being a complainer or a whiner or whatever. And no, it's not it. We got to address the mental part of it. If we don't, we're screwed. Because if you don't love yourself, it's game over. I say that all the time, and it's 1,000% true. If you don't love yourself, it is game over. Hang it up. You might as well just quit right now, because you will not get farther until you adjust that relationship.
Yes, 1,000%. And the culture we live in today, and all the advertisements we see, is telling us that we still need to be fixed. Yep. That there's something with us that we can improve, that we can change, that we can fix. And so the culture that we live in, it's challenging for people to know how to love themselves. Yeah. So I 1,000% agree. You have to get there. And if you don't know how to get there, there are people who have been trained that can help you get there, that can help you see your value, your strength, and your full potential in life. And once you see that, it is incredible and life-changing. I'm telling you, incredible and life-changing. You can move mountains at that point.
That is absolutely accurate, because the culture, by the way, is the same culture that's telling you, that you can do this so quickly. I get on a treadmill sometimes to reminisce about my old days, and I'm also training for this 10K in Cincinnati, and I'll see these advertisements on in the gym, like whatever channel it is, channel 5, whatever. And they've got these damn advertisements like, oh, if you drink this shake, if you take this pill, like, wow, you're going to lose 20 pounds in a week. And, you actually hear this in the ad. They're saying you can lose all this weight without even doing anything. Mm-hmm. I'm like, how the hell is that possible?
And how is that healthy?
And how is it healthy?
Yes. How is it healthy?
I mean,
to ask your body to do something that it wouldn't normally do on its own.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
I mean, when you take these pills or drink these shakes, or there are little fists in there that they dispatch into your tummy that just smash the crap out of the fat, that just push it out of you when you go to the bathroom. Like, what is the science behind this? Because it all sounds like BS.
Exactly. It sounds like someone trying to make that money.
I love on Showtime, they used to have this show, Penn and Teller BS.
Oh, yes.
I would have said the name, but I'm avoiding having to put the explicit tag on this podcast. People have noticed that on the last few podcasts, I've had to put the explicit tag on the podcast. So I am holding myself back here just for a moment.
I've been good. Yes.
Yes. Just to make a point that I can do it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. And so they had this show, Penn and Teller BS, and they would poke holes in all this kind of stuff. Now I have to go back now that I'm deep into this, like losing weight and getting healthy and being, trying to be the best me I could possibly be. I'm actually willing to bet there's probably a show that they've done on like fitness or dieting, but if there's not, they got to resurrect the show and just bring it right back to the forefront, because there's so much crap out there that people are pushing. I got into this YouTube hole one time because I had somebody in my inbox trying to sell me Herbalife. And these people, when I say they have no chill, they have no chill. And so there are things all over my profile where I talk about anti-sales and I'm not down with sales. And then people, they still message me because they're not paying attention. They're not actually reading what I'm saying. They're just kind of hearing whatever they want to hear. I'm trying to find the message now. I don't know if it's still here or if I deleted it, but there was a guy that messaged me trying to sell me this Herbalife stuff. And every time you go on their page, they're training their salespeople to post these before and afters that they did not get from taking Herbalife. It was just natural working out. Or in this one case, I saw this YouTube video where they talked about the company getting sued several years back, and they went undercover. I think it was ABC News went undercover, and they talked to some seller, and they were talking about how they train you to sell it. Like, oh, take a picture where you look really sad and poke your belly out, and then take pictures where you're really happy and you got your hair done and all this other stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, like it's exactly what I thought it was. I already knew in my mind what this was before I saw these videos. But if you like type in Herbalife and YouTube and all this stuff, like do your research, folks, before you get stuck in one of these pyramid schemes. And here's the thing, Christy, a lot of these people, they're not even just trying to sell you the shakes. They're trying to sell you into becoming a seller in this giant pyramid scheme they got going on.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it blows my mind.
They do not care at all about your well-being, about your wellness, about your health. It's about that profit. Absolutely.
That's right. If they can get you to sell and then you say, ooh, I'm inspired, I want to be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is a big buzzword right now. I'm going to go tell 10 of my friends that they should sell in hopes that their friends are going to sell. And I'm going to get a cut of them and their friends and whoever the hell, you know, we're going to bring them all in. And then somehow we live this crazy rock star entrepreneur life where I'm going to go and rent a car for an hour so I can take pictures with it and say, look at my new Ferrari, but I don't drive that Ferrari. Or I'm going to go up to the airport with the private jet. I'm just going to take a picture in front of some random private jet that I don't know who the hell's jet it is, you know, so I can live this entrepreneur life. And there's just a lot of, you got to watch out what you're following out there, who you're listening to, and what their motive is, because I tell you what, you're going to be broke. You're going to be unhappy. You're going to be unhealthy mentally, potentially physically. If you take this crap that somehow makes your skin itch and all kinds of other stuff, you just got to be careful because it's a crazy world out there.
And you got to remember, they're going to show you what they want you to see, not their truth.
100%.
What they want you to see. Absolutely, yes. And you were mentioning the Penn and Teller show. I know that there's a show on Netflix. Well, it's actually on True TV, but Netflix has a collection of Adam Ruins Everything.
Right.
And he does one about weight loss and about sports drinks and about I think the Biggest Loser show as well. They talk about that in that episode too. So that might be something to check into and kind of watch and get that perspective of it. I'm always one that wants to get like every side of a story and then kind of come to my own conclusion kind of person. So yeah.
It's going to drive me nuts because I'm not going to be able to find it right away before we finish, but there was some sort of a meme that was posted. I want to say my boy Shred Happens posted this on his Instagram, and then I reshared it on my story. But there was some meme that said, think about all these like, you know, high tier athletes, you know, that are in shape, that are doing this, that, and that. And then look at what they're actually taking in their body. They're not putting all these supplements and pills and shakes and all this stuff. Like they're just eating natural food, or they're, you know, they're eating this or that, but it's not all this stuff that we think we're conditioned to need to have. I wish I could find this before we finish, but I just read that and I was blown away. Like that was another one of those like things where it just blows your mind, where you're like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. How come these athletes aren't ingesting all this crap? Because you don't need it.
Absolutely. Yes.
You just, you don't need it. So right now in this current iteration of your journey, do I have this right? You've lost 30 pounds at this point?
Yes, we're getting close to 35.
That is awesome.
Thank you. I'm working on my relationship with the scale as well.
Yes.
My Southern popped out there. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm originally from Nashville, so every now and then the Southern will come out.
I have never been to Nashville, but it's a dream of mine to go.
Oh yeah, a lot of people love it. A lot of people love it. I moved to Florida in 2011, so as soon as I moved down and I mentioned I'm from Florida, everyone goes, oh, "I love Nashville." So yeah,
Where you at?
but
South Florida, or where are you at?
Central,
Central. Okay,
Central, around
got it.
Orlando. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I love it. It's awesome. And I see a lot of the people I follow are showing their snowstorms
Yeah.
and the freezing cold, and I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I
I'm so
bet.
grateful. So yeah. But yes, I'm trying to work on not being as focused on the number on the scale, but more focused on, you know, like Daryl mentioned, those habits and doing those habits and as you mentioned, moving at a pace that's a good, healthy pace and not being as focused on the number. I've definitely noticed, that some clothes are a bit looser now, and
Which is awesome.
my face is looking a little thinner, and so which is for me, that's the most important part is that I'm getting healthy, and I'm really trying to. That's why my Instagram name is Reimagined because I'm trying to rethink this whole way I see it. And that's important to me. So,
No, I agree. And I know you're not this person, but there are some people that are like, oh, I only lost this. I only lost that. So like when you think 30 pounds and people are going to compare that to others, don't ever say I only lost 30 or I only lost 10 or I only lost 5 or even I only lost 1, because you're in the right path, or you're on the right path rather. Don't ever just say I only lost this,
mm-hmm.
because you're doing far better than you think you are. I mean, you're doing amazing things. We're all trying to do amazing things. And whenever somebody says I only lost this, oh, it just it's a trigger for making me a little kind of unhappy. I'm like, man, you got to believe in yourself. You got to think better of yourself.
Yes.
And
Yes. And take a moment to go, okay, what did I gain? I gained knowledge. I gained skill. I gained maybe an extra week or 3 or year of my life. I've gained, perspective, whatever that may be. Take a minute and appreciate those victories. And it's just that little thing of recognizing that negative thought of going, oh, I only, and then going, whoa, no,
yeah,
that's awesome. And then rethink a positive and 3 more positives if you have to, just to get that shift of thinking going.
100%. And I will say this, I found this meme that I was talking about. And so I sent it to your DM, but I'll mention it here because I don't want to butcher it earlier. I was trying to like figure out. So on the left, it says athletes consume this. And there's like pictures of all kinds of natural food. There's fruits and vegetables, and there's some chicken on here. And it says, so athletes consume this, a variety of real food. Athletes are lean and healthy. On the right, yet we consume these meal replacements, detox teas, fat loss pills, appetite suppressants, useless formulas. And there's a picture of Herbalife. God, that makes me smile. And weight loss juice cleanses, a variety of nonsense. And 30% of us are overweight, obese, and unhappy. So there you go, folks. I just saved that picture to my phone so I do not lose it. I put it in I know you're a team iPhone. I put it in my little favorites folder so I don't lose this, because I'm going to reshare the hell out of this thing like 30 more times before my days are over on this earth, because this thing is just, it's so powerful. It's so moving and explains everything in one easy picture.
Absolutely.
I
They're not
love it.
trying to help you lose weight. They're trying to fatten their wallets. That's
Damn
all
right.
they're doing. So
Yes.
yes.
You get it. And I know some people in here, they definitely get it. Just be careful with what you're taking in out there as far as who you're listening to and what you're buying and all that stuff. But let's end this on a positive note, because you've came on here, you've shared your journey, and it's been an incredible ride, a great story, and you've been so gracious with your time. I appreciate you spending an hour here with me. This is awesome. A whole hour.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
so tell me, this is how we end the podcast. Tell me, like, in the next 3 to 5 years, what does the roadmap look like for you? What are your plans? What do you want to work on? What do you hope to accomplish? Goals, etc.
Absolutely. My goal is to continue changing my mindset, to continue changing the way I think, and having a healthier relationship with food, with healthiness, or with the health of myself, right?
Yep.
more confidence and learning to love myself, because I'm not quite there yet, but I'm definitely liking myself a lot more than I did a long time ago.
Now you're talking.
Yeah. And then completely unrelated to health, my goal is to move down to the Everglades and help with the Burmese pythons and getting them out of the Everglades in Florida. So that is my career goal in life, just for a fun fact that people seem to enjoy. So yeah.
You are very brave, because I am terrified of snakes. I'm going to tell you that right now, especially when you see movies and you see these Burmese pythons, and obviously, the movie, they're going to jack them up, make them, probably 10 times larger than they actually are. But good God, you see it and it just terrifies you. I know it terrifies me.
They're pretty incredible. They're pretty incredible snakes, yes. I was like, snakes are not anything that I'm afraid of, but spiders, I'll tell you what, man.
Wow. Now that blows my mind.
Yes.
I
They have 8 legs and 8 eyes. It's unnatural. I don't like it.
I don't care if you had a snake 5 feet in front of me with bulletproof glass. Like, you could tell me there's no way. You could say, Gary, there's no way this snake, even if he hit it as hard as he possibly could, there's no way he's going to penetrate this glass and hit you, bite you, or whatever. I'll walk up and peek in, but I'm getting goosebumps just talking about this right now. My arms would be shaking. And, like I said, I'll walk up, I'll take a peek, but I'm very nervous about it. I'll tell you that right now.
Yes.
I'm not comfortable around those things.
A lot of people feel the same. And for a while I did too. And it took, I think, my curiosity, my science kind of side took over. And so I was more curious than terrified, but it took some time, but I'm absolutely fascinated by it, and just the environment in general. Being a larger girl, sometimes I worried that the career path I chose, people don't take me seriously in terms of my size. Like, I can't be out in the field doing all these physical things, but I can. But maybe they perceive that I can't, and I want to get to a point where where that's not something I'm worried about. Whether they believe it or not, that's up to them. I want to get to a point where that's not something I'm worried about anymore. So
you just got to go out there and be the badass that you are.
That's right. Yep.
Do you?
walking through some marsh looking for pythons.
Oh my God. Wow. I hope that one day we meet and hang out, or whatever, but like, let's just not do it at your job. All right. Or your future job. Okay. You want to sit down, we'll have a, a bottle of water. If you like coffee, you can have coffee, but like, we'll just do it without the snakes around.
There you go.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Fantastic. Tell the people where to find you again on Instagram, because that's where most people are coming from.
Absolutely. You can find me at Christie, Christie, Reimagined.
Fantastic, folks. Stop what you're doing. Minimize the podcast app. Open up Instagram app. Type that in. Christie Reimagined. Go follow her. Go say hello. Slide in the DM. Say, what's up? Heard you on the podcast. You were awesome. What have you. Talk to her. Christie, I had a blast talking with you. Again, an hour goes by. We've never spoken before, but man, we just had like one of the coolest conversations. And that's one of the things that I've learned over the last 2 years of this weight loss journey. It's not just about losing weight, but it's also about getting out of your comfort zone, doing new things. It may come as a surprise to you or people that are new to this podcast or haven't been paying attention, but I get awfully nervous talking to new people. Approaching people in public is not something that I'm always comfortable with doing. So doing these podcasts with people that I've pretty much never spoken to, it gets me out of my comfort zone. So to come on here, hour plus, we're chatting it up, having a good time. This is awesome. I'm digging it.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, Gary, for what you're doing. You are helping a lot of people with these podcasts, and it's really awesome.
I hope so. That's why I do them. I hope to help people. So thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Remember at the beginning of the show, I mentioned a little thing called Patreon? Well, I'd love to have you join me. But Gary, What is Patreon? It's a website that is helping small creators like me raise funds to further expand their creative visions. For as low as $1 a month, you can help me further my dream of reaching as many people as possible and eventually taking the show on the road to meet all these fine people face to face and add a video element to this podcast. If you were to donate $4 a month, you'd be hearing this show a few days earlier with no commercials and getting access to my close friends group on Instagram. Donate $10 a month and you get all that plus your name right at the beginning of the show alongside other producers. But act fast. That tier is limited to 10 people. I've got a whole lot more to offer and you can get all the details over at patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Thanks so much for checking out the show and I'll talk to you again really soon. hardworkalwayswins.com. It's more than just a clothing line. It's my mantra. I speak it, I wear it, I live it, and I'd love to have you join the Hard Work Squad. We're constantly adding new items to the store, including our brand new Future-ish hats, which come in a variety of colors, including camo. I mean, who doesn't like camo? We also just put our famous Splash logo in gold to match our OG logo, and there's so much more here. You just got to check it out. Here's the best part. Use the code PODCAST at checkout to take 10% off of your very first order and join the Hard Work Squad today.